Before we get started with this week's episode of Related, Elaine and I wanted to give you a heads up that we're taking a little break for the next month.
Our family does Christmas a little after the recognized holidays, so we will be traveling for the rest of January.
And while we see each other in person, we'll be taking a little break from the recording.
We'll be back in March with new episodes.
In the meantime, all our old episodes will remain available,
so you can catch up on anything you've missed.
And if you liked what you hear, rate, review, and subscribe to the show wherever you listen to the podcast.
Hi, Elaine here. A few weeks ago, my social media algorithms decided that I would be interested in a little Canadian show called Heated Rivalry. I waited until it was complete to binge watch it, but I knew before I even started the first episode that I wanted to discuss the phenomenon surrounding the show with Carlyn. My first experience with MM romance was in Japan when I accompanied a friend to a manga shop. In Japan, and in a lot of Asian countries, romance stories featuring two male protagonists is called boys' love, and it has spread from comics and novels to the screen. It has even spread to China, though it is heavily censored by the government there. One of its defining characteristics is that it is mostly written by women for women. I've come across it often as a loyal K-drama watcher, and in the past few years, this phenomenon has spread to the West, from Heartstopper to Red, White, and Royal Blue, and now the latest is an adaptation of Heated Rivalry based on a Canadian MM romance novel. As the Heated Rivalry fandom grows, I wanted to talk to Carlyn about the increasing awareness of queer stories and the actors that choose to star in them. Again, I'm Elaine.
And I'm Carlyn.
Welcome back to our podcast, Related. So,
Yay.
We have not talked about this at all since I was like, Carlyn, this is what I want to do an episode on.
Yep, not at all.
I did get a text for you saying that you had started it.
I started it.
Did you finish it?
I did finish it. I started and finished it. Obviously, I was going to watch all 6 episodes. Yes, I finished. Okay. I have watched season 1 of Heated Rivalry.
And what did you think?
Okay, so I think I went in. So okay. I have an HBO Max account. I have been getting HBO Max thinks I should be watching Heated Rivalry and has thought that I should be watching Heated Rivalry essentially since the show came out. And for whatever reason, I have not felt compelled to click play. I don't know if it was because I was in a deep 6 feet under rabbit hole, which is like very, very different, obviously, than Heated Rivalry. But I just could not, I wasn't really in the mood. And then obviously over the course of November, especially, I feel like I was hearing more and more, especially from my female friends, and then a couple from my male gay friends as well, that the show Heated Rivalry, and it was showing up everywhere in Culture Study by Anne Helen Peterson, which is a Substack that I subscribe to. Everyone was talking about it. And so when you finally were like, okay, Carlyn, I really want to talk about this, I was like, okay, this is a sign. I will finally sit down to watch it. I don't think I liked it the way that everybody else liked it. And okay, I have so many thoughts. I don't want to get too deep into it because I know we'll probably talk about some of the stuff, and also listeners, I'm assuming we'll put a big spoilers,
Yes.
caveat here. I found the chemistry of the first 2 episodes, it just did not do anything for me. I beautifully shot, very moody, but I was like, this is so toxic. I was like, they're not even talking to each other. It's not very romantic. It's not very sensual. And I think I realized also too, I was like, in all the sort of romance stories or films or shows or books that I've read where the romance really does do something for me, there's a very profound romantic connection, which I did not get at all from the first 2 episodes.
Yeah.
And then there was that 3rd episode with Scott and Kip. And I feel like I'm going to get bombasted for this. That was the episode where I was like, I want more of this story, because they actually talked. There actually felt like there was chemistry. There was actually sort of a romantic sort of component and a real relationship to it. And so, and then I I had a friend who knew I was also watching it sort of in preparation to talking with you. And she kept checking in. She was like, don't forget to drink food, like drink water and eat food. And I was like, I am not having that experience. Um, and she was like, just wait till you get to the last two episodes. And she's not wrong. Like the last two episodes where Hollander and Ilya like finally start to talk and they feel like they're more integrated in relationship, like it started doing more for me. But all in, like I did not have the same I must sit down and binge watch this from start to finish experience that so many other people have. I get at all. I basically watched it for this conversation and because other people have been talking about it so much. So that was my experience.
I appreciate you doing the work.
No. I mean, I'm glad. I'm like very glad I did because it is such a part of the cultural conversation right now, and it feels like it is an important watch. And just even as I was like reading through articles and going through Reddit threads, there is, I think, an importance of it, and philosophically, it is really interesting to sort of see. But it did make me realize. I think my realization is for something to feel like sexual, sensual, like drawn in for me, I need like more actual romance and connection. And I was not getting that from Shane and Ilya, at least in the first like 2, 3, 4 episodes.
So that's interesting because I really actually very much enjoyed it. And I think
fascinating.
Honestly, to me, it wasn't the romance that got me, actually, which is so weird because I'm the romance novel reader. It should be the romance that pulls me in. But it was actually, I don't know if you remember this, but there's a conversation between Shane and his mother in the first episode where they're talking, and she's basically like, she doesn't say this outright, it's subtext, but she's basically like, you represent all biracial Japanese in the league. And I was like, oh, I get that. Because, you know, we're biracial. I've been in white spaces where it's felt like I've had to, you know, show up for a whole group. So I totally understood that. And then I felt like it was it was not discussed at all outwardly for most of the show. But the way that there were parallels drawn between Shane's desire to stay closeted and the way that he's been different his whole life because of his racial identity just... It drew me in. I was there's finally like a connection between the gay experience, which I've never had, and my own experience, which like is not a parallel that I've often seen.
I think for me, I just was like, any love is great love to me. And so I think there's also a reason why episode 5 to me was probably my favorite story because it brought back Scott and Kip, right? And I actually think I read somewhere that episode 5 is like one of the most highest rated TV episodes of all time, I believe.
And
I get it. It was actually a really great episode, and because you both get Shane and Ilya like finally relating in the way I'm like, finally, here's the romance and the talking. And you guys actually like each other as people and humans, not just like your sexy bodies. And then we get what I thought was really profound, the Scott and Kip moment after Scott has just won the cup, where he brings Kip down to the ice and sort of outs himself and Kip presumably in public as gay. And there's that beautiful scene where Shane and Ilya are watching it on TV. Ilya calls Shane and says, like, I'm coming to the cottage. Based on an invitation that Shane had extended. And I, like, that moment I think of, which is sort of, in many ways, like a more cliche TV moment, right? Of both romance and empowerment and, like, people being brave and that bravery showing up for the generations before them or the people who like want to see themselves in other people. Like that stuff resonated to me. And I was like, I want more of that. To be clear, I didn't not like it. I was not enraptured or in love with it or like invested in it the way that I think a lot of other people have been.
No, and that's actually great because the reason I wanted to talk to you about it before I had even watched it was I think it's a cultural phenomenon, whether
Yeah.
or not
Yeah.
you like the show.
Yes.
And
Yes.
I have been seeing all these think pieces about why women like this
Yeah.
show.
Yeah.
And honestly, that is not what interests me.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
this is a show written or a book written by a woman for women.
Yeah.
It makes sense to me that it appeals to women.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's got equal power dynamics. It's got
Yeah.
attractive men. It's
Yeah.
got romance. Like,
Yeah.
why would it not appeal to women? What I'm more interested in is, are straight men allowed to like Heated Rivalry?
I think they are allowed to. Like I have a couple of male friends and they were like, yeah, Heated Rivalry isn't going to do it for me. And I was like, to be honest, like watching two men have pretend sex on TV like doesn't do it for me either. But I was like, I think like if you're invested in a love story, you're invested in a love story.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe what you're getting at is maybe culturally men feel like they can't watch a gay love story and enjoy it the way I think women might feel, quote, allowed to do that. But I think that a love story is a love story.
Yeah.
And so, like, if I had a straight male friend who was like, I watched Heated Rivalry and I loved it, I would actually be like, I love you, dude. Like that to me is a strong, empowered man.
Yes, I agree. I do think that the narrative, though, has been Heated Rivalry is a romance novel. And we touched upon this when
Yeah.
we were talking
Yeah.
about our trad wives and Hallmark
Yeah.
movies.
Yeah.
But I feel like the discussion has been Heated Rivalry is marketed towards women and gay men. And
Yeah.
here we'll dissect why these people like it, but we won't talk about the potential for a broader audience, which I think is so interesting because to me, art is all about telling your story in a relatable way to others, whether or not they've
Yeah.
had the experiences you've had or not.
Yep.
And we don't often see that conversation when it's men making media for men. It's like we don't often see, oh, why do men like this? Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's just assumed, and it's also assumed that women will partake in it too. And I feel like the conversation here has been either straight men aren't watching, which is fine,
Yep. Yep.
or the straight men that are watching are given this like added appeal, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I mean, it was something I was thinking about too, was people who identify as queer, part of the LGBTQ plus community, often watch straight stories all the time, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And they consume them and they like them. So in many ways, watching Heated Rivalry feels like such a phenomenon, but also at the same time, I'm like, should it be such a phenomenon, or should it be such a novelty, right? And I do think, I'm just projecting here, this is all hypothesis, not based on any sort of science, but I do feel like women, both culturally and then just emotionally and empathetically, I think are able to see those love stories translate, like empathize with a love story regardless of the gender and sex of its protagonists.
Yes.
Yeah.
And maybe we should be teaching such empathy to the males of our species.
Totally. Yeah. Yeah, it is really interesting. And I will say too, like, there is something for me as well to like watching Heated Rivalry was, I wondered if Heated Rivalry was a mixed sex, mixed gender couple, would I have actually wanted to watch it sooner? Maybe, actually. Like, there is a world where that I could see myself have been, like, it's easier for me to maybe, quote, see myself in that couple.
Yeah.
But then again, when I watched specifically, not the Shane Ilya, but when I watched the Scott Kip, I was so drawn in. I was like, I want more of this. I love this dynamic. Like, I want to be Kip. I want to be Scott. I don't really care, you know? So I don't know. It's interesting. This is also reminding me. I have a friend who, when I was telling her I was watching Heated Rivalry, she was like, "Yeah, I love Ilya. I just pretend I'm Shane throughout the whole thing," which I thought was really interesting. So,
It
yeah,
is
I don't.
it is interesting. I think that there's a little bit of like Shane is like supposed to be I
Well,
don't
he's
like
less dominant. Like I would say, Ilya is like he has more machismo. He's like more confident. He's, I
yes.
think, more clear about who he is and his sexuality.
Yes. I think that if you're going to translate it to a heteronormative romance novel, Shane would be
The woman.
the woman.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um but on the other side, I think I actually enjoyed this more than I would enjoy it if they
Yeah.
were uh like a straight couple, because I think like there's so many gender dynamics when you're talking about
Totally.
a romance
Yep.
between a man and a woman that are just like not at play here, and it's like kind
Yep.
of refreshing that
That's
they
true.
start out as equals, and
Yep.
anything that would be considered more feminine about Shane is like a choice, it's a preference, it's
Yep.
like that's what he wants,
Yep.
versus something that has been imposed on him.
Yeah. No, I completely agree.
So another thing that I wanted to talk about is just like the timing of Heated Rivalry. It comes at the
Mm-hmm.
end of 2025. A lot of things have happened in the US.
Yeah.
This is a Canadian show.
Gotta love the Canadians,
Gotta love the Canadians.
Yeah.
Though I don't think a US show at this moment could do what that Heated Rivalry does,
Wait,
what
tell
it
me
did.
more. Why do you think that is?
So I was looking back at 2025,
Yeah.
and K-pop Demon Hunters came out at the
Yep. Yep.
beginning of
Yep.
2025. And I think that was a perfect encapsulation of the US's media entertainment power, in
Mm-hmm.
that part of what the US has done is it has made relatable stories,
Yep. Yep.
right?
Yeah.
I mean, for lack of a better word, they've been very diverse
Yep.
stories.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
It's interesting to me that at a time in the US when diversity is being villainized, that it is Canada that is kind of stepping up potentially with more diverse stories. And I think
Mm.
there's a power there that the US may be ceding.
Okay, but have you seen, like, I'm thinking about like Sinners or One Battle After Another, even Wicked for Good, even though I hated the second part of the movie too, which I think all those have a lot of representation in them in one form or other. I yeah,
Though most of
yeah.
those were being produced like pre-Trump.
Yeah, that's fair. So I guess, are you arguing that Heated Rivalry like wouldn't gotten produced, wouldn't have gotten greenlit in 2025, in an
I'm
American
not sure it
2025?
would. It would have.
Yeah.
Like, I don't
Yeah.
know. I haven't watched it, but I don't know if you saw there's a show on Netflix called Boots.
Yes. Yeah. I haven't
And
watched it, but yeah.
yeah, and the Trump administration kind of attacked it and it got
Yeah.
canceled.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that that was the cause, but I'm
Yeah.
just not sure that stories about diversity are going to be thriving in the same way.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a good point. I don't know. I think I would like to be a little bit more optimistic. I don't know. A friend was making me watch have you seen the Trump like South Park
Yeah.
clip?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I realize South Park has been around for years, right? And has such a foundation to stand upon, and the ability to like parody and make fun and snipe at people like Trump in a way that probably newcomers or newly greenlit films and series wouldn't have the way. But I will say, like, watching that, and it's pretty outlandish, right? I don't
Yeah.
think I've ever seen that sort of anything about a US president before. And for listeners, we'll link this. It's a South Park clip that's meant to be an ad, sort of built into the animated South Park, but it's a real live action advertisement, again, built within the story world of South Park. that was an AI generated Trump in a desert, like slowly taking off his clothes, and eventually his like penis is talking to him. And this is all like kind of real action too. And anyway, I'm sharing this. I know it's not anything about diversity or whatnot, but I guess my point is, I do feel like this stuff is still being made by brave souls. So I think
Yes.
there's a part of me that wishes and hopes, and I feel like there is a part of Hollywood that is, especially like as we get towards the end of 2025, where people are maybe breaking more with Trump, where I'm seeing more of that sort of like quote countercultural push for all the things that Trump is against. But I don't know.
Yes.
I think probably realistically you're right.
I also do think it's interesting that the creators of South Park are rich white men who
Yeah.
perhaps are in a better position to be able to push back.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure that guarantees more diversity, or is just powerful men
Yeah.
fighting powerful men.
I will also say, have you watched the show I Love LA?
I've seen ads for it, but
Okay, it's very Gen Z. I watched it. It's good. I liked it, and I like what the writer creator, this woman Rachel, is trying to do with it. And there's definitely, it's mostly, I would say, white women, but there's a lot of queerness in it too. And it was recently greenlit for a second season, which to me, it's like not as up and out in front as Heated Rivalry is by any means. But I think my point is, I think there are some of these stories, especially like Gen Z stories. There's like Overcompensating, which was on Amazon Prime. There's Adults on FX, which is sort of these like very genderqueer, fluid Gen Zers who are like living their lives in a very like quote diverse world. And I think of that as the foundation of these are the shows that were coming out in 2025. Then I think about Heated Rivalry, which was a Canadian show, yes, but had huge popularity. I could bet you that in 2026, building on the popularity of Heated Rivalry,
yes.
you will see more shows like that in 2026 from US companies. But to your
Yes.
point, I think it was only because it saw financial success.
Yes. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I do think that perhaps there's a reversal of the trend
Yeah.
that will
Yeah.
be going on. Absolutely.
Yeah.
The other thing about Heated Rivalry in 2025 is the joy of it
Yeah.
at the
Yeah.
end of the year.
Yeah.
Like, I think a lot of queer stories are not happy endings.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
you went into Heated Rivalry knowing that this would be a happy ending, and I think that was also
Totally.
like
Well,
just
I
a
didn't. I didn't, to be clear.
oh.
I didn't know you've read the books. I think we should talk about that because you read the books.
I read the
I
books during the pandemic, and actually only the first two, because actually the second one turned me off the series. I
oh.
actually didn't like the second book, which is Heated Rivalry.
Oh,
Uh,
really?
yeah.
Well,
So
and which one is Scott and Kip's story?
it's the first one.
It's the first
It's
one.
Game Changers, which I
Okay.
actually enjoyed.
Yeah.
I didn't. There was something about. So I just feel like I have to explain why
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
didn't
Yeah.
like the second book. There was something about the way that race and femininity were intertwined in Heated Rivalry that made me
In the book.
uncomfortable. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was not
Interesting.
present in the TV show. That was actually yeah, it was. We talked about how Shane is potentially like the self-insert for
Yeah.
female viewers. It was done in the book in a way that made me uncomfortable and also tied into his race. If that
Interesting.
is a sense.
Yeah.
Like, I
Yeah.
feel like there's a stereotype of Asian men being less masculine
Yeah.
that it just made me uncomfortable. I could have been reading into it more
Yeah. Yeah.
than was intended or was present, but it just
Yeah.
I
I
couldn't
also
get over it.
I also read somewhere that Rachel Reed, the author, actually also what she did not make it explicit, but she wrote Shane as someone on the spectrum who's neurodivergent.
Yeah.
which I thought was really interesting as well too. So you also have like all of these layers of otherness as well,
Yes. Yeah.
which again, I haven't read the book, so
I just think it
yeah,
was well done in the TV show, and I'm not sure I appreciated it in the book.
in the books. That's fair.
Um,
That's fair.
like I feel like in the TV show, it wasn't an otheringness in the
Yeah.
TV show. Like,
Yeah.
yes, he was an other, but and I think that's what Shane is afraid of, is that he won't fit in with his hockey bros,
Yeah.
in various ways, and that felt like in the TV show is like a relatable struggle, where I feel as in the book it wasn't really delved into, and it felt more like of a way for the character to be more feminized, if
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
makes
Yeah. Yeah.
sense.
Yeah. Yeah. I totally get that. And I will say, just like bringing back to your original why we talked about the books, like I will say that it was a pleasant surprise to me how the show ended too, which was it felt so loving and kind and also not a cliffhanger either.
Yeah.
Also, the other thing that I will say that I really liked about, and I'm curious if this also showed up in the books, but the sort of three female best friends, Svetlana, Ilya's best friend, Rose, who like Shane attempts to date, kind of realizes in the process that he's not bisexual but gay. And then I can't remember her name, but the woman who's Kip's best friend as well, who's
Elena.
is it Elena? I don't know.
I think it's Elena. They play a much bigger role in the show than they do
Okay.
in the book.
Okay. Well, because I just like going back to this like women empathizing too there were like interesting, strong, definitely more like sidekick female friends, but I think very empathetic, thoughtful, intentional, strong female friends with like great jobs and careers that were also in the TV show. That was really interesting to me, especially if it was as a show that was like technically about these gay male protagonists, but marketed towards women. Like you could see women also in the show.
Right.
Yeah, like anyway, that's a tangent. So
No, and they were well-rounded women.
yeah.
Like you didn't know much about their story, but you knew that they had one.
Yes, exactly.
So one last thing that I wanted to talk to you about,
Yeah.
putting the Heated Rivalry in the context of our world, was
Yeah.
the increase in parasocial relationships.
Yeah.
You spoke about Wicked earlier.
Yeah.
In a time where Jonathan Bailey, out gay man, is
Yeah.
a leading star in Bridgerton
Yeah.
and Wicked.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you followed the Heartstoppers. Like,
I watched most of the first season. I thought it was so cute. And then honestly, now that we're talking about it, I'm like, why did I stop watching? I think I just kind of got hooked on another show and then forgot about it.
well, there was a drama where people weren't respecting the actors' boundaries and basically were demanding to know the sexual identity of the actors.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering, at a time when the relationships that the audience feel towards the actors is like so important for an actor's career.
Yeah.
What do you think about the sexuality of the actors?
I think it's completely not important. I also think whether or not they're not revealing their sexuality for their own personal reasons or honestly part of sort of the marketing stunt of it all. So, okay, this is weird that I'm referencing I Love LA twice in here because it's really not like something that really stood out for me, but it was a show that I recently watched. And frankly, it's a show that I watched right before Heated Rivalry. And I'm sharing this because I think there's a Gen Z component to this as well, too, of the fact that the actors are both like very solidly Gen Z. They're both like mid-20s.
Yes.
And in I Love LA, it's all Gen Z. One of the protagonists is this like influencer. She's on a shoot for Ritz crackers, and this like millennial, exennial sees this influencer take a phone call, and she says to her manager, who's also Gen Z, like, oh, is she talking to her boyfriend? And The manager responds, oh, no, I think it's actually her girlfriend. The Ritz spokesperson is like, oh, is she gay? Is she lesbian? I didn't know. And the manager goes, oh, like, we don't come out that way anymore. We just, date people. And I just like, I was like, that's such a Gen Z thing to say. And that also like shook me a little bit too, because I was like, I did grow up in a world where people explicitly come out. Is there a real world too where people don't feel like they have to come out? And if so, that's really beautiful, right? Like,
Yes.
I think there is a really profound moment to that for me. And so then watching Heated Rivalry and then seeing some of the debate online around like, are they together? Are the actors together? Are they gay? Are they bi? I was like, who cares? Like, literally, who cares? And like, power to Gen Z, especially if this is like not a marketing ploy and they're just like, my sexuality is my sexuality and I can love and have sex with whoever I want, like
Right.
that's my 2 cents. What about you?
I also think it doesn't matter. I do think it's interesting the interplay between it not mattering anymore as much and actors having to put their personal lives now on display as like almost like influencers. It's like you can't just be an actor anymore. You have to have this outside of work persona so that you can get brand deals and photo shoots. And it's like they're not actors anymore.
Totally. In some ways, I feel like that final scene in the actual show, right, where Shane has like kind of accidentally come out to his parents and they're being really kind and I think generous about it, and his mom is talking about brand deals, right? Is like, well, maybe Rolex, like, if there's a way we could spin this, I'll love this. And it's interesting, like, as you're sharing that, I'm like, oh, there were echoes of that actually built into the story itself too.
Yeah.
So
yeah. And it's so important to Shane that he just like gets to be Shane. Like without labels and without having to represent a whole race or a whole sexual identity.
Totally. But it is interesting. And it makes me feel, I think, sometimes old and a little biased. And I love what the new generations and sort of what new culture is, I think, teaching and transforming about culture at large. Because I do remember a world where watching a show and then I realized that an actor was like straight or gay. I was like, oh, like I remember watching Modern Family and realizing that the actor who played Cam, who is like not actually gay, and be like, oh, but like, why did, like, that should not that it inherently like mattered to me, but it did give me a moment of like, oh, but it shouldn't. I don't know that it should.
Yeah.
What's on your mind? I can see you thinking.
No, I was just saying, I do think I appreciate that the director was a gay man.
Yeah. Yes.
Because I think that it's important that there was someone in the production involved that was like not a straight person telling
telling us. I agree with that. I agree with that. I am definitely of the mindset that when you're representing, like, especially stories that historically have been othered, that that at least a big part of the people telling the story should be familiar with that story.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I also think that it's important that we have queer representation in the actors who are telling also straight stories. Like,
agreed.
Why I brought up Jonathan Bailey is I think that his career has been fascinating to me, and I'm so happy because he's an extraordinary actor. And I think if he had come up like 10 years earlier, it would not have been the same story, which is maybe the difference between our generation and Gen Z.
I mean, it is interesting. I feel like that we could honestly have a whole episode also on celebrity too, because I do remember when I watched Bridgerton and then finding out that his character is obviously very, very straight, right? Learning that he himself was an out and gay man didn't really change anything for me, but I know that it like did for other, right? Because there is a sense of people want to lust after a celebrity, right?
And this ties into that parasocial relationship. It's like
totally. Yeah. Yeah. So it is interesting to think about what it is to be a celebrity and where you draw the line between the characters that you become versus the persona that you are.
I do think Heated Rivalry just highlights this wonderful interplay between identity and audience and media and storytelling and relatability and the political scene. I just like the timing of Heated Rivalry was so perfect.
Yeah. No, I agree. And I do, as someone who, again, was not like riveted, didn't binge watch it, in many ways was treating it more like homework, but a really important homework. I'm really glad it exists, and I'm really glad I watched it.
So will you watch season 2?
Yeah, I will. Yeah. I honestly, the Hunter Scott episode, and then honestly the last 2 episodes where, again, they just built they got out of the hotel rooms and like the moody blue lighting, and it was like actual relationship stuff. That's the stuff that I like. So yeah. And I'll also be curious if I'm assuming they'll continue with the same 2 actors, just given the success.
Oh yeah.
But I would also love to see like other stories and iterations as well within the series.
So I think that the first 2 episodes were meant to pull people in by shock and awe of like, this is a sexy story.
Yeah.
Like, come watch.
Yeah.
I rewatched in preparation to talk about it, and I only watched the last 4 episodes.
Yep, that's fair. Yeah, well, they almost lost me, honestly. I was like, there's no actual connection here. No, thank you. I was like, sure, they're sexy and their bodies look great, but like, there's nothing here. So, yeah. I do want to say it was beautifully shot too. Like
it was beautifully shot. It was beautifully done.
Yeah.
I know they had a small budget, but everybody was operating at like top of their game.
Yeah. And I will say the actor Connor Story, I think, who played Ilya, I was so impressed when I found out that he wasn't actually Russian. I was blown away.
It's also so funny I feel like we're now switching to this point of like most main actors are younger than us.
Totally. I just got my like last month's Vanity Fair. I like having paper magazines, as you know, and the cover of it is like the new Boys in Town, and it's a lot of that generation of like Gen Z leading men. And it was interesting also, again, maybe a conversation to have, but it feels relevant to this one to a certain degree, was just around like differences between the leading men of today versus the leading men of like when we grew up. And there's a more like authentic, more queerness, there's just like
less toxic masculinity
and machismo, and more like, here I am. Yeah.
More empathy, which I love.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe 2026 is about more empathy.
Yeah, more empathy.
I'm getting on your bandwagon here.
It's, I feel like 2025 was a lot of like, are the men all right? Are the boys all right? Right? And maybe 2026 is a healing year. Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed our conversation today, we look forward to sharing more with you.
Follow us now so that when our next episode premieres, you can be sure not to miss it. You can find us wherever you listen to your podcasts.
See you next time, everyone.